No blogs you already know, just my hidden gem blogs I don't think you know, but you should definitely know and read and binge read them all actually, to stay informed about all English and Japanese Otome games, Otome news and Otome analysis. Welcome back, my name is Lynn and I'm learning Japanese with Otome games, want to share how and especially which Otome games and explore all things Otome together with you. And in this video I want to share some hidden blogs I think you should know, to make an informed decision about which of all the hundreds of Otome games to buy, especially in 2023 where there are just so many. Be kind to your wallets, read a review. Okay, let's get to the blogs. First, maybe still my 2 cents on our 2 favorite blogs, Otome Kitten and Bloody Otome. Otome Kitten reviews almost, I think, all of the modern Switch Otome games and also provides walkthroughs. And I think her blog stands out because of the extremely detailed descriptions of the plot and the characters, which for my taste is a bit too spoilery, but on the other hand, of course, gives you a really good impression on what to expect from the game. So you'll be able to make an informed decision. Another double-edged sword about her reviews is that she'd always find a reason for you to buy the game. Which is of course great, as she always considers various tastes, unlike another certain YouTuber who just shit talks games. But sometimes I just like a review that stops me from making a bad purchase and gives me a reason not to buy a game, because I also like my wallet. In this regard, I feel Blurdy's reviews are more opinionated, as she also dares to just not recommend a game. For example, Paradigm Paradox, another game I was so lucky as to skip, or she used Not to Like No 9 in the Vita version, which is sometimes such a great help to have another more negative opinion. So I think her reviews can be a good antidote against all the hype. And you also find many indie reviews on her blog. Speaking of antidote against hype, the most opinionated blog I know is Brad Mercer Lee's blog, or Yudica's blog. She probably has been playing and publishing reviews way longer than most of us. I think like more than 14 years. So you'll find all sorts of Otome reviews on her blog. Mostly Japanese only games, and she writes some of the best spoiler reviews. And makes sure to make you laugh with her cynical descriptions or sarcastic remarks. Her entertainment value is 10 out of 10. On the other hand, she doesn't seem to give a damn about objectivity, which admittedly is almost impossible, but I think most reviewers at least try, and she just doesn't care. So her verdicts are extremely subjective, and I feel like she prefers more fluffy and light-hearted games. So games like Pure Fiore and Olympia Soiree don't really stand a chance with her, or other darker games, though she liked Tengoku Struggle. Still, whenever you need an English review about a Japanese game, that's your place to go. And that will prove especially helpful if you don't really plan to play the game yourself anyway. Use Cake might be a lesser known blog. She also writes immensely useful spoiler reviews. I used to check when I started playing Japanese games, so I could be sure that I at least could follow the plot correctly, and she writes them with less bias than Yudica does. She also plays modern games, but also has a nice mixture of older games. As my impression is that she covers mainly more popular title, I'm sure you'll find a game that suits your style and is almost guaranteed to be rather a good game or a more popular game. So whichever game you pick from her reviews, I'm sure you'll be able to enjoy it. Rennae Muko is not very active anymore, I think, but still has a nice choice of slightly older games. And she also makes great snarky spoiler reviews. For extremely detailed spoiler reviews, or almost rather summaries, I recommend 29 Nights. There you'll find a lot more obscure Vita games and even some R18 or BL games. So if you want to feel as if you've played the game yourself, then her summaries will satisfy that need. On the total other side of the spectrum is a smaller blog called Otome Land, who gives very short, spoiler-free reviews for a quick subjective impression to make up your mind. Zettai Dennai is one of my favorite blogs and the one I think I trust the most when it comes to her opinion about the games. She makes spoiler-free reviews which are clear and precise. She isn't overly wordy but brings her arguments to the point. So I do get a clear impression of the game with still having almost the whole game to discover for myself, which is in my opinion a really nice and not easily achieved balance. She seems to enjoy Vita games the most and lesser known titles, so if you're looking for slightly more obscure Otome games, I'm sure she can recommend you something. Also, did you know there are Otome podcasts? I sadly only found 2, so it's definitely time for you to start your own and share it with me. And bring some Otome even to our ears. One is Otome Shimai. It's like the podcast you want to listen to if you don't have any Otome friends and are feeling lonely. Because none of your normie friends listens to your Otome rambles. And no one understands why Benkei is the best. And Yang it's just from another world. And then then you definitely need the Otome My podcast. Those are two sisters who chat about Otome games just in a very casual way, so that you feel like you're in a group of friends with them and sharing your opinions, like little reviews or just the impressions they had playing their games. Other Otome podcast I found is Otome Challenge, and it is indeed a challenge for that man who is trying to get into Otome games. So definitely a podcast you should listen in when you want to convince your friends as well and have some common feelings about the new experience of Otome games. The only downside to this podcast though is that I sometimes feel it's a bit difficult to follow, that because they may talk about something that happens in the game, and when you don't see the gameplay, it can be a bit difficult to understand what exactly they're talking about. But still, it's really refreshing to have like a new opinion on the games. And now that you've opened Spotify anyway to follow them, also check out the Otome Jams playlist or the soundtrack of Cupid Parasite, which you also can find on Spotify, and listen to it whenever and feel like Cupid going to work instead of yourself going to work. I guess that's good. And you can also find anime drama CDs there. So far, I don't think they're Otome drama CDs because I guess they're a bit more strict about the release of those. But still, if you need a blessing for your ears, you can find Otome on Spotify, and it's a lot of fun. Okay, so my camera died and 2 hours have passed. But I have this very camera only thanks to every one of you, because I was able to buy it just with YouTube money, because you're so nice to watch my ads, to donate on Patreon, which is so amazing. Thank you so much, because every dollar you donate is worth 1,000 ads. And you've also been really kindly using my affiliate links in the description or in my Otome calendar, which is the only site I regularly update on my personal blog. That's why it's not in the list. It's not a hidden gem, but the calendar works most of the time. Coming to my 2 favorite lesser known Otome blogs. One is actually extremely new, and I hope it will strive, and that is called Otomeology. And I'd say her approach is a bit similar to mine, focusing on both English and Japanese games. And what I like most about her blog is a really timely manner of covering Otome news, like one of her most popular articles about the Law of 9 Rip. Her articles are very well researched, and you're sure to stay on top of the news if you follow her blog. And I think she's also extremely active on social media, if that's your thing. But my favorite underrated blog of all, well, it's actually a subsection on a bigger website. And those are the articles on the website Rise Digital in the Otome section, written by Lilia Hilal. This writer seems so smart, her articles well researched, and her writing style just flows, and before you know, you've read all her articles on the website. Her reviews are well thought through, describe the game without going into too much detail, but still have a very strong conclusion, so that I can almost be sure whether I'll go out and buy it or rather skip on it, without it being either too biased or too ambiguous. But what I like most about her articles aren't even her reviews, but the mindful analysis of Otome games in general, or gameplay mechanics, be it about stereotypes or psychoanalyzing the LIs. I just love this analytical approach, as I as well dipped my toes a bit into Otome psychology, so like my video on toxic stereotypes, and just wish my writing would be more on par with hers. I'm trying. So I highly recommend everyone to check out this talented writer on Rise Digital and binge read her articles as well. So which are your favorite Otome blogs or Otome writers or articles, creators in general? Which super important blog did I miss? Do you know any more podcasts, or do you plan on making one yourself, either a blog or a podcast? Please share it in the comments so we can all learn about these creators.